Well, I don't know whether Boyd was the most pleased to go first or Bill was the most waiting here, but you know, as we wind down, we have one more inductee that it's time to meet, Bill Welch. And joining Bill tonight is his wife Judy, son Kyle Welch, and grandson Dalton, son Kevin Welch, special friends Jenny and Thurman Bell, and Heather and Russ Bolin. And let's meet Bill Welch.
It takes a special kind of leader to manage the proud athletic program at Roseburg High School. Bill Welch was that person for 15 seasons. A Southern Oregon native, Bill graduated in 1953 from Ashland High School and would graduate from Southern Oregon College of Education, the one we now call SOU. He began his teaching and coaching career in 1961 at Camas Valley High School, where he taught English and history. His 1963 and 64 football teams won state championships. Working at a small school offered Bill the opportunity to coach football, basketball, track, and baseball. Moving to Roseburg High School in 1966, Bill served as the social science department head and taught modern problems. Bill was an assistant football and track coach prior to being named dean of students. Bill was named athletic director in 1980, a position he would hold until retiring in 1994. Bill was 4 times named Southern Oregon Conference Athletic Director of the Year. He served on numerous OSAA classification committees. Bill was 3 times SOC League rep to the OADA. His coaches at Roseburg called him Coach of Coaches for his attention to their programs and athletes. Fellow Southern Oregon Conference athletic directors credit Bill for his many years mentoring and providing guidance to new ADs. His attention to detail and accountability laid the foundation for future athletic administrators in the SOC. After his retirement, Bill moved south to Medford, where he still supports RHS teams when they visit the Rogue Valley. Bill and his wife Judy have been married 56 years. They have 2 sons and 1 grandson. Tonight, he joins some good company in the OADA Hall of Fame.
Well, I guess the first question is, how do you stay married for 56 years?
You're probably asking the wrong person. She's sitting right.
How do you do that? No, you have had such a career. I was in Roseburg just a few nights ago at a gathering, and I told people where I was coming. And I said, you know, they're going to honor Bill Welch. And every one of them not only knew who you were, but said, it's about time. You had a lot of time in Roseburg. Talk a little bit about that long career in one of the most successful schools as far as some athletics in that part of Oregon.
Well, it's really important for me to make this clear. We were a successful athletic program when I took over, and a successful one when I finished. We were on an equal footing in those days in demographics and economy, and we could compete with the Medfords and the Eugenes and the Portlands and so on. And we did. We had good kids and good coaches. Obviously, those are the 2 qualities. But the thing that I'm really most proud of, and the thing that is not unique, I'm preaching to the choir, I realize that, but we worked really hard, and I emphasize that. The coaches were in on it, boys coaches, girls coaches, at sharing athletes. We did not specialize, and that's still very, very important to me. A young man sitting back there, my grandson Dalton lives in Colorado, and he's a 3-sport athlete, and I'm very proud of that. It's so important that we understand why we're doing things in athletics, and it has very little to do with the 1% that become Division I scholarship athletes. It's all the other kids and all the other experiences, and that's what we really stress. And I was really fortunate, really fortunate to have coaches that bought into that and worked very hard at it, and that's really what I'm most proud of.
How early did you put an eye toward athletic administration? Was it something you'd kind of planned for or thought about for a long while?
Well, I had been involved in athletics all my life in one degree or another, and when the opportunity came at Roseburg, I was very interested in the job and fortunate enough to get it. But I do need to mention one thing, though. First, I want to congratulate all the other inductees, but second, I saw those athletic accomplishments, and I didn't include in my biographical sketch something that I should have. I belong in the Guinness Book of World Records for an athletic achievement. I'm very bitter that it hasn't been recognized. In 1947 or 48, in grade school athletics in Butte Falls, Oregon, which is a little logging town east of Medford, there was a county grade school basketball tournament every year. I can see the wheels turning. I said 47 or 48. It was a long time ago. But anyway, we played Gold Hill. It's a school that no longer exists. It's part of the Central Point Crater School District now. And they weren't very good. We were pretty good. And we beat them 34-3 or something like that. I know they had 3. And I led our team in scoring with like 12 or 14 points. I don't really remember. But anyway, the opening tip of the second half, the ball was tipped to me, and I made a miraculous driving, twisting lay-in at the Gold Hill bucket. And so essentially, I was a leading scorer for both teams.
That's awesome. Nicely put. We'll see if we submit it. See if we can get that in there. Don't want to take your thunder away.
Well, like I say, there are people that had so much to do with this. I want to mention two, Russ Bolin at Roseburg High and Tim Sam at North Medford, the athletic directors at those schools, doing a great job. They spearheaded this a few years ago, and I had a bump in my health that I didn't get the biographical sketch in. And so they started all over. They didn't give up, and I'm greatly indebted to the two of them. They're sitting there, and I owe them a big, big, big thank you. As I've mentioned, the rock in the family is back there, Judy. My two sons, graduates of Roseburg High School, successful in their adult lives. None of this would have happened without them. But the most important thing, maybe, to me is I had coaches that I hired and coaches that had been there for a long time, and they all bought in, and it worked better than I had reason to believe. It was a highlight of my career. I taught and was a department head and counseled, and all those things are important, vital, important education. But the highlight of my career was being fortunate enough to be the athletic director at Roseburg High School.
Well, you did it well, and you've made it into this Hall of Fame. Just be interested, you talked about the family, of course, and some of the people who helped you, but in a memory, aside from scoring those points for the other team, which that's a great memory, but in terms of all those years there, something that just kind of hops out that still makes you smile a little bit.
It would be in the locker room after a successful game when Coach Thurman Bell, some of you may have heard of him. He has just a little bit to do with Roseburg football. He opened his locker room to fans and parents after football games, and they all came in, and it was a huge family thing. And obviously I remember that with a smile on my face. And then coaches like Stu Robertson, who died way too young, but was coached kids as well as anybody I've ever been around. That brings a smile to my face. I do have to mention, at the table there's an empty chair. We lost our daughter-in-law 2 weeks ago, yesterday. And her name is still in the program. She loved sport. She would have loved to have been here. She was so dear to our family, the closest thing to a daughter that my wife and I had. And the #1 Denver Bronco fan in all of Colorado. And so there's a hole in our heart, but we know that she's watching.
And we will all keep her and your family in our thoughts and prayers. Bill, congratulations, and we're proud to have you as a part of the OADA Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. Nicely done.
To present Bill's plaque and pin, former Medford School District Administrator and Southern Oregon Conference colleague, Bruce Howell, and from the OACA, former Executive Director and Hall of Fame member, Dave Johnson. As we bring to close this 8th Annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony, again, I'd like to make mention and recognize our videographer, Jason Heimerdinger, our still photographer, Dakota Hussett, and a special thank you to David Walker from KVL TV. You know, when you get in his position and working with the OSA and having 35, maybe how many more years, Dave? 40 years in the TV business, radio business, you connect with a lot of people. And I know from our board, it's a special opportunity to have him over here and do these interviews. It just makes the program that much more successful. To the Sun River staff for an excellent meal and everything, and to the OAD Executive Board under the guidance of President Lorena Woods and Executive Director Chris Welch. And most of all, thank you to each of you for taking time out of your schedules to be here and help honor and recognize friends, colleagues. It's a special night. You know, Bill alluded to how do we get names? Well, you know, people out here. And so we're constantly looking for names of people who may never have served on a state director's board, but they did a lot of things in their communities. And those are the people that it's probably the most challenging to get information on and nominations for. So as the chair of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, I would ask you, if you know people out there in your communities or other schools that served your schools, submit their names. You can go to the OADA website, and there's a form there that you can do that.